We're Rock 103 on the Bear. I am Tommy, and I am hanging out with the band Fozzy. I got the lead singer, and I'm going to clear this up. Do I call you Moon Goose or Chris at this point?
Yeah, Moon Goose died in a bizarre gardening accident about 10 years ago, so it's Chris. You got some killer hair, man. You got some rock hair. I love it.
That's right, man. I could be your next guitar player. Who knows, man?
Or just we'll have you as a go-go dancer on the side in a cage playing a tambourine.
All right, man. You know, I know some wrestling fans out there are definitely aware of Fozzy, but what about some of the music fans out there that are maybe just getting new to the band? I know you've been around a while, but for those people, tell me about this. How does a wrestler become lead singer and this process of Fozzy?
Well, I mean, it's the same way that anybody became a lead singer. I mean, I started playing in bands when I was 12. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to be in a rock band and I wanted to be a wrestler. Those were just my two things I always wanted to do. And probably the only person on the planet that wanted to do that and actually did it. And I mean, it all came from the same place. It's about being an entertainer, about being a showman. So anything I do is like I've never considered myself a singer or a wrestler. I'm an entertainer, and when you look at it that way, especially when you're on stage or in the ring, there's a lot of the same qualities that you use as far as connecting with the crowd and working with the crowd. But I mean, also, there are people sometimes that will say, "Oh, this is a wrestling band" or "This is a wrestling thing," and it's really not. I mean, it's two completely separate things. And the guy I always look to that inspires me is Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars, who won an Oscar this year and then sold out the Hollywood Bowl with his band. So sometimes you just have people that can do two separate things, and we've worked hard with the band, you know, and that's why it's great to be playing at Carolina Rebellion and playing at Rock in the Range and playing these big festivals over here, the same type of vibe that we've been doing in England and in Europe for years and years and years. So when we come here and people that have never seen the band get a chance to check us out for the first time, they walk away as fans because we've got it down to a science at this point.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned Jared Leto of 30 Seconds to Mars. You know, even the Pretty Reckless with Taylor Momsen and yourself, you know, with Fozzy, there's not many like celebrities before bands that really work out, and those are really the three to me that really are legit.
Well, you don't treat it as a celebrity's band. I mean, this is not Chris Jericho's band. Fozzy is 5 distinct rock stars, 5 distinct personalities, and that's the way we treat it. You have to do it that way. And people aren't stupid. They know when they're being fed something that isn't real. They know when they're being fed something that's a gimmick or a novelty, and we get that. I mean, like I said, because Chris Jericho's in this band, it opens some doors and closed a lot of doors too. And we don't, just listen to the music and check out the show. If you like us from that, great. If you don't, that's fine. But we find that whenever people actually that don't like the band, most of the time they've never even heard us. And that always makes me laugh. But we just if you don't like our band, we don't care. We're just going to keep coming at you and we'll keep playing. And if you don't like the band, step aside and let the people that do like us get a better seat. So, and that's kind of what we've been doing over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's been paying off, and the band's just been really blowing up, and it's been cool to see.
Now, on some of your previous records, All That Remains and Sin and Bones, you've had a lot of guest appearances like Zakk Wylde and M Shadows and stuff like that, guys from Alter Bridge, Megadeth. On the new record, is there any guest in this new record?
Yeah, we always like to do, if you listen to the top 40 stations, they'll always have Jay-Z featuring Beyonce or, Rihanna featuring Little John. And I was always wondering, why didn't we have more of that in rock and roll? And it seems like bands are very iconoclastic, they just stick with themselves. So that's why we had Sandpaper featuring M Shadows or had Wanderlust featuring Zakk Wylde. On this record, there's a song called Tonight. We did a tour with Steel Panther in Australia and got along with them really well. So Michael Starr from Steel Panther does some vocals on one of the tunes called Tonight. And that's it for this record. So we always, that's what musicians do. We like jamming with other musicians, and it's you're always flocked to each other, getting a chance to work with some outside minds and outside thoughts. It's good for you as a musician. It's good for your band as well.
Now, I know that Fozzy started out as like a cover band when you guys did your first 2 records. Now you're doing original material, and from going back and listening to the previous stuff, it seems Fozzy's sound progresses each record, and it's kind of even evolved with the new single Lights Go Out. Is it fair to say that there's a new evolution to the sound of Fozzy?
Yeah, I think every band has to evolve. There's only so many AC/DCs and Slayers in the world that can do the same thing their whole career, which they do amazingly. We like bands like that, but we also love bands like Pink Floyd and Queen and U2 and Zeppelin and Beatles and Guns N' Roses, where they had no problem experimenting with their sound, broadening their horizons, but still keeping the core of what they do and their sound the same. So we were listening to a lot of rock radio, and we're finding that a lot of the songs, a lot of the bands kind of blended together, and we wanted to do something that was different, which we've always kind of had a different sound, but this was, Lights Go Out it's a real different style for us, but it does kind of stick out. And when you take a chance on something, either people are going to not like it, or it's going to take you to the next level. And with Lights Go Out, it's really been taking us to the next level, especially with a lot of people that had never heard our band before are now checking it out and going, wow, I mean, Lights Go Out is amazing. We'd never heard Fozzy, and this is great. Very heavy riff, very melodic chorus with a lot of harmonies. That's what we do best, and we're really focused on that with Lights, with a couple different elements to it. It's almost like dance club metal. I mean, you could hear this in a strip club, you could hear it in a dance club, or you could hear it, you know, next to a Slayer tune or an AC/DC tune, and it would fit in with all of those.
It's a very strong song. When I heard it, I was like, man, this is badass. It's a good sound. Where'd you guys do the record at?
We did it in Atlanta, produced by Rich Ward, the guitar player in Fozzy. He's got a real good affinity for it. And we did the vocals in Tampa at a place called Morristown, which is a famous studio down there, famous death metal studio. Obituary, Morbid Angel, and Fozzy recording our stuff. So, you know, in this day and age, it's cool because, you know, if you have the right guy behind the board, you don't have to go and spend thousands and thousands of dollars in a studio. You just, you know, you do your drums in a studio, your vocals in a studio, and the rest you can do wherever you want. And that's kind of the way of the world. So it's good for bands if you have the right guy that knows how to work the, you know, the software. You can do a record anywhere, which is cool.
Now, what are some of the other highlights to the album, You Want to Start a War?
Well, Do You Want to Start a War is a song we're playing live. It's a real kind of rebellious, you know, stick it in your face if you don't like what's going on in your life. Bad Tattoo is another tune that's really, really cool, very heavy, very dark. That's kind of the theme for the record. Tonight is great, like I mentioned, with Michael Starr. There's another song called Unstoppable, which is cool. We did a duet with a female vocalist out of Atlanta. Just kind of shaking things up a bit, you know, and I think when people hear it, they're going to be really blown away. I mean, every artist will always say, this is the best album we've ever done, but we really believe it's the best album we've ever done. You have to have that attitude. But the thing is, too, when you say that and you believe it, there's always a little part of you, it's like, I hope everyone else agrees. And like when we put Lights Go Out, we were like, this is great, but I hope everyone agrees, and people are agreeing. So I think it's going to be the same with our record too. So we're excited to unleash it. That's on July 22nd.
All right, Chris Jericho, Fozzy, Lights Out, the new song, Do You Want to Start a War, the new record, get it. It's going to be a good time. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, dude.